All right, everybody stand for pledge of allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, 2.0 agenda approval.
Second.
Okay,
I didn't see anything. Don't blame me.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 2.0 visitors to address the board. This is time for public comment on non-agenda items. The board will not take any immediate action, but will refer concerns to superintendent and ask him to report to the board. We appreciate you keeping your comments to 3 minutes per individual or 5 minutes if you're representing a group of patrons. Please note, under Oregon revised status, personnel concerns will not be discussed in a public meeting. If you have any concerns with the school district personnel, please schedule a meeting with the superintendent. All right, looks like we have one here from Patrick Berkeley.
You said it right.
Did I? I think I've heard it enough times.
I just stand right
I guess-
there.
It's a little unique tonight. We're still meet for those that come here, but if you kind of hang out in this area and the board can still hear you.
But you have a microphone.
Hi, okay, I don't.
Yes.
I was gonna say, he doesn't need a
actually,
microphone.
Speaking to the mics, they're super hot and just kind of.
Yeah,
it's around. So
Okay.
We'll be able to hear you there.
I always prided myself that when I was on stage at Homestead with a community theater, while the rest of the cast was light, I didn't need to be. And so hi, Patrick Berkeley, proud Columbia City River Otter, teaching 4th grade there, but I'm here tonight as a St. Helens resident. And I have to admit, even though I sat in the chair where you sat, Mr. Schoo, less than 20 years ago, I get nervous whenever I'm talking before you. And I wasn't, the reason I came tonight is to support our otters, our 2nd graders and the 5th graders who do such good work. But also I wasn't going to talk, but then I came upon this little flower, camas, along where the middle school once stood, the old middle school, and it was on the path. And I'm sure some child or somebody saw the pretty flower, pulled it. But I guess what that inspired me to do is I'd like to make a plea to the school district that that as you continue to move forward with development of property, such as you've done here with the middle school and all, you do as much as you can to preserve the camas that exists on the property with your future development. Unfortunately, several years ago, when the senior high school football field was renovated, much of that material was taken from the old field and deposited back here behind the district offices and buried. A wonderful camas field. You can walk along the fence there and still see some of the remnants of it growing up. But that's the past. Moving ahead, but there is still a number of wonderful little patches of camas along here and perhaps in other school district properties. And I would just really encourage you that in the future, any kind of development you do is to do that. St. Helens was full of camas once upon a time. And every year we lose more and more of its development. And so I think as much as we can as a school district to enhance our environment. And I know the district has committed to natural resources. I know we planted a lot of natives along the roadway there, but I want to put out a plea for camas and that anything in the future that just keeping that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got that, Jared?
What's that?
I asked Jared if he got that.
Oh,
He's like, all right, it looks like our only visitor. So that'll bring us up to 4.0 consent agenda. The board on an individual basis prior to the meeting has reviewed all material, all financial reports are available for review by the public in the business office. The public considers consent agenda items routine business will be acted by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion of these items at the time the board votes on the motion unless the members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from consent agenda. All right, all in favor? Passes. So I'll bring us to 5.0 new business. First up is Columbia City mini boat project update.
Thank you very much. If I could manage to run this.
Maybe not this taller.
I may.
Over here, no problem.
So good evening, I'm Jennifer Vanisher, I'm the principal of Columbia City. I'm very excited for this to be the first time that Columbia City is really presented here. This is year 5 for us. And so we want to share some of the wonderful things we've been doing out there in our 5 years. So Columbia City Honors, that's us. These are our character traits, and we work with EL Education. They're helping us to create a wonderful school. Tony Altucker is our school designer, but unfortunately he's sick today and he wasn't able to be here, but he would love to come another time. But I think you'll see as we watch this, how our work that we're doing in Columbia City so aligns with our work here in St. Helens, and we're very proud of that. So it's the first one. All right. So EL's vision and mission also matches our work here. So their vision is students, and when students and teachers are engaged in work that is challenging, adventurous, meaningful, learning and achievement flourish. And I have 5th grade team that's going to show you some of that work, and a 2nd grader that's going to show you some of that work. Also, their mission is to create classrooms where teachers can fulfill their highest aspirations and students achieve more than they think possible, becoming active contributors to building a better world. Hence why Mr. Berkeley is here telling us we need to take care of the flowers, and several of our staff members are here. That's what we do at Columbia City. So an expanded view of student achievement in EL education. Mastery of knowledge and skills is the foremost important part. Our kids need to have the skills to be successful. But along with that, supported with our character work, again, you'll see elements of that in their NEVO work. You'll see elements of that in their pollinator work, and also high quality student work, things that they're proud of. They work with professionals that teach them how to do this work. And our secretary is also going to show you high quality work in multiple drafts. So I'm happy to pass it over. We are so pleased to be able to work with the Columbia River Maritime Museum on their mini boat program. And so I'm going to pass it over to Nate Sandell. I'd like to introduce you to him, and to I'll let him take over from there. I'm not doing the clicking.
No, you're great.
All right, I'm clicking.
Well, I want to thank everybody for having us all here tonight. This is a student-led program, so I'm going to let the students do most of the talking. But I really wanted to start out and say that the museum invests 5 figures for each school for this program. And we have never done the same school 3 times and only one other school twice. And the reason why is because I'm the boss and I can do whatever I want. And this teacher right here, with the support of the principal, makes me want to come back every year. She took the goal, which was to integrate it into her classroom in an everyday thing, and has really run with that. So I really want to thank you, and the community should thank you for bringing this program 3 and next year 4 years. So, this is the 3rd boat. It's actually hull number 33, to be christened Flames Unite, but you cannot call it that until it is christened. So as of now, it is hull number 33. But the boat built called Filbert that was launched 2 years ago in 376 days, sailed 9,744 nautical miles, and is now sitting in a little village on Millie Atoll in the Marshall Islands. The GPS was macheted open, so it is no longer functional, but I I mailed one to an American who was stuck on a sailboat in the capital, which is an 8-day sail away from this atoll. Last I heard, he was leaving that special permission from the president of the Marshall Islands to sail there to help fix your Navy boat. So very big deal. Breaking news, Second Wind, which was a boat that was built last year, was launched last June, and by August was in Half Moon Bay, California, where a fisherman pulled it out of the water and took it back to his dock. The Coast Guard put that back out in the ocean, and that has sailed over 4,000 nautical miles. And as of last night, it has disappeared, which you could be concerned about, but I'm not concerned because it disappeared 25 miles from a place called Christmas Island, which is about 1,000 miles south of Hawaii. And I know when many boats disappear by atolls, they will show up in the village in a matter of days. So, but this exciting hands-on program, it's a student-led project. The students actually choose one of 9 different teams where they feel they can contribute best to their project. And so with that, I would like to introduce Emily and Zoe from our public relations department.
Sales team, Rebel Lucas, Indy, Brody, Treasure. The sales team has been working on t-shirt designs and what they're going to put on the sale of the mini boat. Their favorite thing to do is design the shirt. Their least favorite thing to do is sketch. Heel team.
Where they can all. Yeah, both of you.
Heel team. Jameson, Jack, Parker, and Mila. The heel team has been working hard on gluing the heel together. So when it's in the water, it won't fall apart. After they glue it together, they lay down fiberglass so the keel won't split apart, and put sand in it to weigh it so the boat doesn't tip over. Hull team, Dylan, Kay, Helena, Jordan, Kaden, Lucy. Hull team is working on painting the boat. The Hull team has decided to do flames for the boat. My favorite thing to do is paint the boat. Their hardest things to do are painting and sand. Deck team, Davis, Brooklyn, and Joe. The deck team is working on painting the deck. They're painting flames so it matches the hole. Their favorite thing to do is make the flames colorful. Their hardest thing to do is having too many people in their team that will paint. International relations, Ryland and Tyler. International relations is working on a gift for the Japanese school, Kanahama Elementary. Their favorite thing to do is 3D modeling. Their hardest thing to do is writing letters and translating them. Sure. This is the 3D model that they painted and built.
3D printer.
Yeah. Social media team, Savannah, Piper, and Megan. Social media team is working on a video. They're using green screens and video. Their favorite thing to do is working in a group. Their least favorite thing to do is making the video slash group. Engineering, Devin, William, Carly, Gabriel. Engineering team is working on drilling holes to secure cargo hatch cover. Their favorite thing to do is drill holes into the boat. The hardest thing they are doing is getting the holes in the boat to line up so they can put the screws in. Public relations. Emily, Zoe, Kennedy. Emily and I have been walking around to every team asking what their favorite thing to do is. Emily and I have been recreating a bunch of pictures from a few years ago. I would say our favorite thing to do is walking around and seeing what each team is working on.
This person. Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
Yes,
This is Ms.
sorry.
Lewis, our teacher. Okay.
I do have one question.
Please.
So every other team got to, the question asked about what their least favorite thing to do was. You answered it. So what was your least favorite thing to do about that?
Well, I know we said we like walking around, but at the same time, we don't like to do too much walking around.
You'd be rather be painting, right? So as you can see, not only is it mini vote that they're doing, but they're also reading the voice in the vote, which it's part of their ELA work. They're doing a lot of writing. They're connecting with students from Japan. So there is a lot more to this. This is what's called an expedition. It used to be called expeditionary learning instead of EL education. So that's what it looks like in 5th grade. And now I'd like to introduce you to a 2nd grader. They're working on pollinators and why pollinators are important to a school. So this is Addie Conrad, and she's going to share with you about butterflies. There you go. All right, Addie, go.
Hello, my name is Addie Conrad, and I'm here to teach you about pollination with butterflies. Sunflowers. Sunflowers are important to me because I love to eat sunflower seeds. The secret behind sunflowers is butterflies. This is how butterflies help the sunflower plant. They go to sunflowers to drink nectar. They like yellow, pink, purple, or blue flowers. Their scaly wings and hairy body collect the pollen. They fly to a new sunflower, and they drop the pollen onto that sunflower. Pollination begins. Here's how butterflies help sunflowers. They pollinate new sunflowers, and those sunflowers are able to grow new seeds. New seeds can start a new sunflower. This is my picture of butterfly flying to the sun. This is my picture of butterfly flying on that sunflower. The pollen is able to get onto it and make the skin white. This is the picture of my butterfly flying to the sun. In class, we gave each other a lot of feedback. The feedback on my poster helped me because my partners told me to make my flower more realistic. And that's exactly what I did. It's very helpful. The orange things around this picture are the white strings are the same as the yellow dots. The straw in the middle is the this is my writing. We researched these together as a class. We wrote reports and did multiple drafts of scientific drawings and practiced giving feedback. The first picture is my first 2 drafts of my idea. The second picture is me and my partner giving feedback. And the last picture is my final draft of my idea. Then we picked our own pollinators research report. I picked the butterfly. The first picture is my writing about my butterfly. The second picture is my first 2 drafts of my butterfly. Here's the final product of what I used to create my speech. The 2 pieces of paper are what I used to create my speech. And the last piece of paper is my final draft of my butterfly.
When you're in 5th grade, will you be on the PR team for the rainbow?
Here's 2nd grade in Columbia City singing the pollination song.
Just about 15 seconds. So as you can see, and with us, we also have our 2nd grade teachers, Miss Wood and Mrs. Andrews, that's part of our ELA modules that we did. Do you need it?
I really am. I'm just so impressed. 2nd grade, that is impressive, high quality work. And I'm thrilled for you and your classmates. Most impressive, outstanding. I haven't seen work like that. 4th and 5th graders oftentimes.
Yeah.
Very proud of them.
Wow.
Very proud of their work.
Wow.
Yeah,
Just start speaking skills. So that all comes out of our work with EL education. The center of it is contributing to a better world. That's why our expeditions that we do, our modules we do are about things that are important to the world. So our kids know that they have a voice in the world. But that also goes around with belonging, purpose, compelling curriculum, and student engaged assessment, deeper instruction, and our crew culture. Do you mind, that crew video is pretty short, if I can just share.
What do we all hope our children will take away from their school experience? We hope they will learn everything they need to succeed. EL education is reimagining what it means for students to achieve at the highest levels. For over 25 years, we have helped public schools across America support a three-dimensional version of high achievement. Beyond just getting great test scores, our students achieve mastery of knowledge and skills. They develop character, and they commit themselves to creating high-quality work. Character can mean many things to different people, but what do we mean at EL education when we say character? Our framework for character has 3 student outcomes. Students contribute to a better world through service and citizenship. Students become effective learners with initiative, responsibility, perseverance, and collaboration. They become ethical people with empathy, integrity, respect, and compassion. These student outcomes are alive in EL education classrooms, just like these illustrations by 7th graders at King Middle School in Portland, Maine, who donated their scientific field guides to the community. These student outcomes are built upon a solid student identity of purpose, belonging, and agency. That identity is forged by a school program that features compelling curriculum, deeper instruction, and student-engaged assessment. And all of this rests on a school-wide foundation of empowering leadership and crew culture. Together, these components create a platform for students to develop character so that they have the habits and dispositions to contribute to a better world. See the framework in action in classrooms across America at characterframework.eleducation.org.
So just the last thing I want to share with you, our culture and character at Columbia City is something that we've worked on from the very beginning, and it's really helped us get through a lot of the COVID breaks that we've had. We have joined, Gretchen Ramos has joined us as our culture and crew coordinator. Something new we have this year, which I've shared with you, is our all-school crew. These are some of our crews. Every adult in our building, from teachers to secretaries to classified to our custodian, has a group of students, kindergarten through 5th grade, and next year we hope our preschool will join us, where we get together once a month. We do activities together so that kids have adults that know them well, but our focus this year has been service. And so we're going to be doing some service work. We have been doing service work. I think these are placemats that are going to be going to a senior home. Looks like Ms. Lewis is doing some cleaning up around the school, so service to our school, service in our neighborhood and beyond. And so we think that an inclusive culture where students feel a strong sense of belonging is essential in a school. So that's why Better World Day is coming up. Ms. Ramos is going to be leading us in that. We're going to have an all-school gathering. You're all invited to join us if you're free, where our kids will be reporting out the service work that they're doing in a celebration just like this, for the kids are sharing it. And so that's Friday, May 6th at 2 p.m. and we'll send you an invite to you.
Thank you.
And then the final thing, this is really exciting, that just came up. So EL is nationwide and worldwide, and we have been invited to represent Oregon, Washington, California. Tony L. Tucker is school designer for those areas. And he was asked to select a school that would be part of this community circle beyond our own school. And so we were invited. So our 4th grade ambassadors are going to take part in this Zoom meeting where we're talking about what we're doing to make it a better world. And then that'll be recorded. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you for our families and our kids. I just kept thinking like you wanted me to stop talking. I know your questions. You gotta get that part in. Well, you never did do that. You forgot to. know, I think all these staff members too, if you have any questions, they're all here. You are welcome to come visit. I know some of you have been there before, and Bill's had the pleasure of working with us.
I actually have to say that one issue that I was struggling with in coaching, and I stole from you your morning startup,
Oh, our crew, morning meeting, yeah.
and it completely solved the issues.
Yeah.
So I just have to say that I was able to steal from you folks, and then when you get up to 7th and 8th grade and kids are struggling with cooperating with each other the way they should, but to at the start of practice during warm-ups, at the end of warm-ups, what they do is they repeat the athlete's code. And one day I skipped it and they made me stop practice. Coach, you forgot. And I was just in a hurry. But I learned that they had learned that was important to them. So thank you for
No, thank you.
and you can share that with your
I
buddy.
know, I heard Miss Lewis mention that as one of the things, morning meeting
Yeah.
and morning crew has been something that's been really meaningful for her. We do it as an adults. That's how we start our staff meetings, Mr. Cole's crew. Thank you, appreciate it.
Ms. Manisher.
Yes.
I know you helped open Columbia City, and it's been working to grow it, and opening a school is very challenging. What I do appreciate is the work that you put out in the direction that we're going. And I don't think you've shared much about where EL comes from and the uniqueness of it for our community to even have the opportunity to have an EL school.
Well, EL education comes from the Harvard School of Education, so it's very solidly grounded in best practices. They are some of the most intelligent people. When you get together in meetings, your brain just hurts because these are the most thoughtful, expert teachers that you can get together with. So that's one half of it. And then the other half is Kurt Hahn and Outward Bound. And that's where the we are crew, not passengers. That's the second part of it. We are crew, not passengers, and then it's of service to others. And so the idea that we don't get to the top of the mountain unless we all get there. So it brings these two pieces really together. I came from an EL school, and is that what you're asking me? In a previous district, I was at an EL school and I loved it so much that when I had the opportunity to bring it here, I was like, oh, absolutely. And I kept knocking on the door because EL was not working in Oregon anymore. They were primarily in California. I think it's the entire Oakland School District works with EL, and the entire Detroit School District has all of the EL modules. So there is bigger districts, but I kept knocking at the door. I said, "Hey, remember me? I have this really awesome school that would really love this." And finally, after enough knocking, they said, "Okay, Mr. Al Tucker says he's available to work with you because he was our school designer at our 1,100 children's school." And he loves working with our school. Actually, he just told me that today, that our students and our staff they bring him joy. So he says he walks in the building and children greet him. They say hello to him. They come show him what they're working on. And he says staff is the same thing. Even when he pushes us sometimes to do things that are out of our comfort zone. He had us doing a math 2.0, which is grappling. He gave us a math problem and like a child, like students, but it was a little bit hard, but we had to work collaboratively with each other. And he pushes us a little bit and we just like come along. And so that's the history of EL education and the history of why it's here with us. And Tony's committed to Columbia City.
Thank you. And I know it's continuing to grow and build upon itself. So I'm excited for the future.
I am too. Yeah, that little pause of COVID was hard, but we can see the foundational structures stayed in place, even if we were trying to talk to each other through a computer. Thank you very much. Thanks. You can even take this down. This is the mic. We're good.
I don't know.
You're good.
I rather like it.
Oh, we were like you guys. This is pretty normal. Oh, man. Enjoy you guys while you're here. mom was from, I want to go this way down the road.
Can you push it? Yeah.
Oh, Patrick. I'm like, oh, it's better to the virus.
I know.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah. For me, like, the work, and it takes most of your
All right.
I think they should all look forward to that.
That brings us to 5.2, St. Helens High School and Plymouth High School ASB reports.
Yeah, go ahead, follow that.
Yep.
They're not.
Here, okay. So give us the 5.3. Mr. Stearns.
I brought a student with me. It's Vanessa Wallace, junior in our pro program. And I figured we need to talk, first, let me say Canada, we brought it before you and they kept postponing it. And now looking at the world the way it is, international travel is a little tricky with 45 students. International travel means that if we get across the border and we have an outbreak of COVID, we're not getting back across the border, or half our kids can come home and the other half can't. So we're saying adieu to Canada, and we've been invited to sing at Carnegie Hall in New York City next year. Obviously, I know that's a funny picture. Right? So Carnegie Hall is, as I'm sure you're aware, one of the most prestigious stages in the entire world. If you could go to the next slide, Vanessa. The old question is, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? And of course, the answer is lots and lots of practice, right? Corleones recently auditioned by sending some audition materials and some tape. Excuse me, I'm old. We sent some audition materials and some videos of our chorus performing to DCINY, Distinguished Concerts International, New York. DCINY is kind of the gatekeeper as to who gets on the Carnegie stage for choirs. It is possible to go sing in mass choruses. In other words, they bring in a famous conductor or composer, and then they bring in 15, 20 choirs, and they stand on the stage at the same time, and they all sing after 2 or 3 rehearsals. But if you want to be a solo performer, if you want to have your chorus featured on the stage, and we're not talking about a Friday night concert, we're talking like a Tuesday night concert typically. But if you want to have your choir be the choir, the headliners on the stage, you have to go through DCINY. As it turns out, the man who is the gatekeeper of DCINY lives in Lake Oswego, Oregon, and works in New York. So he'd already heard of us. And when someone else reached out to me, who was friends with him, he gave me a call and said, send me those materials. I've heard a lot about you guys. Within a few days, we have been given approval to sing a solo concert on the stage with, by ourselves, Carnegie Hall. While we look at this trip proposal, the rest of it, we would also sing at St. Patrick's Cathedral. That's part of the tour package. So we have at least 2 concerts in New York City over a 4-day period. So we'd sing at St. Patrick's Cathedral probably as a warm-up concert for us, something to do to really get our kids ready to sing on the big stage. And then we'd sing Carnegie. In addition to that, we'd obviously go see a Broadway show. Can you imagine 45 St. Helens students descending upon Broadway at the same time? We also, as part of the tour package, we get a talkback workshop. What that means is we see the show, typically it's a matinee, and then the cast sticks around to have a Q&A with us. And they talk about their experiences, what brought them to being on Broadway, how they got there, what that career would look like for someone who chooses to do it. Incidentally, I was just in New York the other day, and
Just the other day.
I'm heading back because these guys invited me back over Memorial Day weekend to go to Carnegie and tour the facility because they really want us to come sing. But I saw Hadestown, and one of the leads in Hadestown who plays Hades, Patrick Page, is from Monmouth, Oregon. So my hope is that, and Hadestown is a thing, all the kids love it. It's a great show. You've seen, have you music to that? No, not yet. You will. Hadestown it's a fantastic show. It's jazz based. It all takes place in a very small theater, maybe seats 500 people in the whole theater. And anyway, Patrick Page is an Oregon native, so it would be really cool if we could get tickets to that and have, if he's still playing a role, and have an experience with him. Details, obviously, the most important part. We're looking at spring of 2023. We don't have dates nailed down yet. We're still in conversation because I needed to get approval from you first before I put anything in writing. Here's the thing, approximate cost is expensive, $2,000 to $2,500 per student, right? I would be asking students, we would do our auditions for next year early. We would do this towards the middle of May. Normally we wait till the end of May, beginning of June to do auditions for our top choir. We would start doing that as soon as we get back from the state championships in May, the beginning of May. And we would lay this out for all the parents and say, look, it's about $125 expense per month, and we would do fundraising to cover the rest. If kids really were dedicated and wanted to earn more than that, they could, and they would see that on the back end of the experience. We can do donut sales every month, and they bring in a lot for us. Donut sales are great. Krispy Kreme donuts, we make about $5 a dozen every single time we sell them. Per dozen, we make 5. We could raise the cost of what we do. We get them for $4.95 a dozen. Krispy Kreme sells them for $12 to $13 a dozen. We sell them at a price point of $10 because it's easy. People say $10, and that seems a little easier on the wallet than $13. We could raise the cost, but if students sold 260 dozen donuts in a year, they'd make their $1,300. That's all it would take. And believe it or not, I mean, Vanessa can attest to how many donuts we've sold in the past. Sometimes my truck will be, I can fit, I think in my old F-150, I figured I could fit 475 dozen donuts in the truck without having to have someone else bring another vehicle with me. So we have no problem selling donuts. The nice thing about the donut sales, it's repeatable. You can do it every month, and people will still buy donuts because they eat them. We also have our mattress sale. We're going to do a benefit concert. We are going to do a silent auction. I was really inspired. If you've been watching what's happening in Scappoose right now, Grant Watts is doing an auction. The Grant Watts Elementary School auction. They're doing it online. Last year, for the first time, we did this past December, we did a concert with it was us, and then our chef school actually provided a dinner. We sold 100 tickets to it and raised about $2,500 for each program for the chef school and for us. We'd like to pair that this next December with a silent auction to be able to do something along those lines and get community members involved in what we're doing. We also think we'll see some donations come in that way as well, because the more we let people know what we're doing, obviously the more support we're going to find. And then, obviously we're going to look for sponsorships and stuff as we go. We're going to have a large social media presence. The breakdown of the cost, it's going to cost $845 per student to underwrite the concert itself. So when you go into Carnegie, you have to underwrite your own concerts unless you're, the New York Philharmonic Orchestra or some of these big, these very large organizations, but even they underwrite their own stuff. So the $845 goes to underwrite our concert, and the rest of the money goes for travel, food, events, and lodging. It's a big trip. I'm not going to lie. It's a little intimidating, a little bit for me, but I have a travel planner. I'm getting bids currently from 3 travel planners. I have one that's already come in. The other 2 may come in a little bit lower. If so, we'll go with another one of them. Everything will be run through an online portal through them, so parents can easily just take care of their fees and pay online, and they don't have to worry about, we don't have to worry about a lot of cash flow in and out necessarily. And then as far as travel is concerned, we'd all be on the same flights, we have the same busing, and so on and so forth. Right now, we're planning on a Manhattan-based hotel so we can stay local, although I've looked at maybe some cost savings staying right outside the city, but then we have longer travel times. It's kind of a wash when you have bus time and all that stuff. So I think staying in Manhattan, smaller rooms, the kids may not, well, I think they'll survive, but It's Manhattan. So the big thing, oh, and all the companies we're looking at provide 24-hour round-the-clock security in our hotel. And they also provide an on-site, I guess you can call them a travel representative, and they're with us from the moment we touch down in New York to the moment we leave. They stay with us the entire time. So if there are any problems or issues, that's one of the things I was looking for in all the companies, was to make sure we have an on-site representative. I don't want to take 45 kids to New York City and then have an issue with the bus. Everybody's laughing back here because, you know, that's our history. So I'd rather have someone on site. So, and having that added security in the hotel is really important to me because I don't want kids wandering around New York City at 2 in the morning by themselves. So having security is important.
I would just like to add that I've been in choir since my 8th grade year, and hearing about this opportunity is honestly a great honor, because growing up, I've always been very passionate about singing, and being in choir is a really big part of my life. So to hear about this amazing opportunity to go to Carnegie Hall in New York is just super exciting and astonishing, and I have no words. And I'm excited.
Questions?
I have a question about the food.
Yes.
$40. Is that food day?
No. That's total.
How's that work?
So breakfast will be in our hotel every day. Dinner's included in the tour package. They need $10 a day for some street food. That's it.
Is that gonna get you like a chef in New York?
No. Again,
I thought they
Too many
wanted
of
to
just
share
there.
that, like,
no. I mean, you can get a hot dog and a soda and some chips for $8. I mean, and what I'm going to tell kids is, your $40 is the minimum that's going to get you something. If you want to budget for more, budget for more. Most of the kids are going to say, yes, I want to have a souvenir budget. I want to have some of those things, but at the bare minimum, $40 to do lunches for 4 days really isn't that bad. And that's enough. It'll get us to, we're not planning on eating in restaurants during those days. It's literally just, hey, we're on the street. And by the way, again, having just been there, New York has grown up a little bit in its food offerings on the street. It's no longer just pretzels and hot dogs. They all have to be licensed by the city. So there are these really amazing little trucks now. It's all food truck based. You still have the occasional little cart, but for the most part, it's these food trucks with neon signs and the whole thing. It's good food. It's very international. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of international food.
Phillies and euros.
Yeah, a lot of falafel, a lot of stuff like that. So it's delicious.
So I did a just kind of a meet and greet conversation with the middle school who's sending kids to DC in the summer. And their cost was far more than what that is. Now, I believe they may have had 3 extra days. They had less students. So how solid are we with those numbers?
Extremely solid. I had a $1,700 commitment from the first travel company that's already come in with their bid. The 845 is solid. That is what it is. So I can get them there and back for around 1,700 now, and then plus the 845, which would put us right around 2,500. If my other company can come in less, see the advantage we have over some of the smaller tours is that we're literally using a full bus, and we're buying a block of seats on an airplane. We're literally buying half the plane. So when we do some of those things, we get to deal in bulk in using travel agencies, our cost goes way down. When you're dealing with 10 kids, they go to DC, they're buying individual tickets or they're buying small, blocks of tickets, because those kids on those EF tours typically come from all over the nation and they gather there and they do a big tour. Ours is just, they're only in one group, it's from here and we're heading over there. So that's how they're going to keep those costs in the block.
I think it's enough lodging as well, because they're more like a dorm situation. They're pretty high secure over there too, but
yeah, ours will be in hotels. I think, and again, I don't have specifics yet, but she mentioned a few Times Square hotels from one of the travel consultants. We're looking at, I think, 3 or 4 different Times Square hotels. And as I'm talking to them, I had a Zoom meeting with a company who hasn't yet come in with a bid. She emailed me this morning, the bid's coming. She's just having to hang up with, getting back to it. But she said, oh, well, we deal with these hotels all the time, and these are the ones we reserve at this time. So they already have all those. By the way, I only dealt with companies that are based on the East Coast. Many times, those relationships that they form over there in their home base are better than the West Coast based travel agencies that we would want to go to. There's one in Milwaukee that's really good, but because they're based here, I didn't feel like they would have the expertise to do something in New York. So since the only thing we're doing over here is catching a flight, I went with East Coast based travel companies instead, because I felt like their relationships would be a little bit stronger, and they place more people in the city than a West Coast based one would. So that's why I made that cost down.
Just curious, who comprises the audience at the concert?
That's a great question. So in a lot of tours, when you sing at Carnegie, again, in those mass choir situations, and they say, hey, you're going to get some stage time, your choir goes up, gets 10 minutes of a performance, and the other choirs are watching. DCI NY actually runs a concert series. So we'd be a part of the series, and they have subscribers that are a part of that concert series. We anticipate an audience of about 1,000 people. So, and it wouldn't just be the parents.
So, and then you get a little more stage time then too?
We do. We actually get a 35 to 40 minute set on stage. And just so you're aware, I've begun conversations with South Albany High School, their director, Brett DeYoung, he's a good friend. They're about the same size as we are. They're a 5A school like us. We're thinking we may want to do this at the same time and share a couple of pieces together on stage, that sort of thing. So it may be that we have 2 Oregon choirs represented out there, which would be a real coup for our state. So.
To bring your prices down, that's the other half of the plane was like a whole bunch of mess and stuff.
So, Melody, what I'm actually hoping to do is work with the same travel agent to get a package for people who want to go and support us, because I think there's going to be a number of people that want to go see Corleones sing in New York City.
Well, if that was my kid, I'd be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, and many of our parents have never been to New York City.
Mhm.
How many of you have been to New York City? Not everyone.
I watched somebody in Carnegie Hall. Was
Okay, yeah, and then add that our kids are singing in St. Patrick's Cathedral and Carnegie Hall. It's a once in a lifetime event. I have never performed on the Carnegie stage, so this will be my first time. Of course, I've been there, but I've never performed on it, so it would be my first time. It is quite the honor. And the package with the 845 includes professional videography and photography. And apparently they have a photographer that runs around like a crazy person the entire performance, catching great shots of our kids, and those are that's part of it. It also includes a gala benefit dinner for us at the end. They rent out a restaurant, and we're the guests of honor at the restaurant. So it's us and probably whoever else is in the concert series that day will host the feature. So it's quite the thing. I'm going over Memorial Day weekend to go watch this in action. So they invited me out, so I'm taking Jen and we're going to go see the Indianapolis Men's Chorus sing the music of Benjamin Britten over Memorial Day weekend. And then they've invited us to the gala dinner afterwards, so we can see what that would be like for our kids, that sort of thing. So we're gonna get kind of front row seats at Carnegie to really see what it's like. What's that, Bill?
It's a better scouting report than just having your assistant coach tell you what happened.
Right. Yeah.
We have an actual date.
We don't, and again, we're looking at right now 4 days. I'm trying to do as late as possible to get the kids ready. Every year, as Vanessa could attest to, every year the choir is different, right? And with 35 minutes worth of music, it's a lot of singing, and it really is. So we want to make sure that it's going to mean some changes to our year in how I scaffold things in over the course of the year, because we're going to have to start earlier with some heavier stuff and really kind of build them up. And it's hard because we're losing half of Corleones, well, not quite half, but like almost half of Corleones seniors this year. So it's going to mean a lot of new voices and a lot of training, but I think we're up to the task. We have some good section leaders like Vanessa who are sticking around for another year, and they'll help us really get these kids ready. And I mean, it's a lofty goal, but a worthy one.
super exciting.
I just want to say thank you. The amount of work you put into the choir program, to the arts, and the emphasis put to put an emphasis on areas other than sports where kids can be themselves, can express themselves, can excel, state, nation, international. It's just
Thank you. I think we have to have a really good music team in this district. Every single one of our teachers is committed to that same goal. And I think we really see the world as our classroom, not just the classroom, right? And so every one of our teachers is committed to getting our kids out in the community, even at the kindergarten level. We really desire to get our kids out there and seeing what music making is like elsewhere in the world. My goal with my students is to get them ready for whatever that next level of life is for them. And for most of them, it's not a professional job in music, but it is to keep them inspired and loving music for the rest of their lives, and hopefully they'll continue to learn and grow. That's my hope. And I know my teaching partner, Love Freshner, she feels the same way for her kids. So we're excited about what the future holds for music here at St. Helens. Thank you.
And so you talked to Roger. There's this really cute first grader last night who had the entire show for the entire concert for McBride. And he'd be awesome for you to just have. He might not be a person who will ever forget that little boy.
We'll just bring them along.
Yeah, he was great.
Well, thank you for letting me take up your time, unless there's anything else.
I just
Yes.
put my name on here.
Oh, as chaperone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna make
We
sure.
get a list of
I'm
three, can you more than there? I'm assuming you want the board to vote to approve this application tonight.
I would appreciate that. The sooner the better, yes. So that I can get moving on advertising and all this stuff, because I have deliberately not advertised until I have board approval. And it's a good recruiting tool for us for this next year. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll need to have a motion to add the action item. So. Oh,
That's a bad shot. No, it's not.
there you go.
Okay. All right. Thank you all so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll bring us up to 5.0 or 5.4, school reports.
Yes, let's go ahead and start with our preschool report.
Awesome. Brad.
Come on up.
I listed as last, but it also says Jennifer's presenting it, so that's why I'm like, I think it was EL.
We did it all together.
Yeah.
It'll be city staff.
Yep.
We're good, yes.
All right. So first of all, I want to thank those of you who came out and were able to for our preschool with the Schoo school board when they came out. It was great to see our support across our district and across the board to be there and talking to the Schoo school board to show them why early learning was important. Because they can hear it from me, they can hear it from concerns, but to see that our board actually supports it as well goes a long way with showing them the support we have. So I just want to thank you guys. We did tell you guys that we would get you more Ready Teddy shirts, and so each of those is on there. If you need a different size, just let me know, and we have various sizes as well. So last Saturday, we had our last transition event where it was a pancake and pig breakfast, and so the kids from Schoo and St. Helens both came out to St. Helens High School, and we had pancakes performed or made by the chef school kids, volunteered and came out and cooked for us, and then we had story times and balloon games with balloon pigs that they had to keep in their little pens and different activities to get them used to socializing with other kids their age, and it was more about their families interacting than about us teaching at those. We have one more Kinder Club event, which is at Columbia City. We finally got one scheduled out there. So on the 17th of May, we'll have our last Kinder Club event and have kids be able to go to that school and see what that environment is like and work with those teachers. And then our last Ready Freddy event we have is on June 1st, and the board is all welcome to come as well to that event. We're having a big barbecue at McBride for all of the families that have participated in this, all the staff that have come and participated and volunteered their time, or that we're working those events to come out. We're gonna have a big barbecue, and our PE teacher at McBride is gonna do field games with all the kids, and so that the kids can just be out and socialize and get to know each other more. We also, this year we're getting ready for Kinder Welcome, which is next week on Wednesday. All 3 elementary schools are doing it from 5:30 to 7. And so we were not able to get backpacks from the community this year like we've had in the past. And so the Children's Institute stepped up and said that they would give us some funds to be able to purchase backpacks and supplies and everything that we need to make these for our incoming kindergartners. So when kids register, they'll get the backpack. And this year it's a little bit different than in the past. In the past, they were just made for us with like crayons and scissors and various things. And so this is a sample of one where it has our Kinder Club registration paperwork, so they know exactly when it is and they can register. And then it has lots of different academic skills that they can do in games. And then there's also a social emotional aspect that has different activities to the zones regulation, so that they're used to the way we problem solve and do things in our school district. And every supply that they will need to do all of the activities for these are in the back. So it's not just scissors and glue sticks. It's magnetic letters with dry erase boards and Play-Doh to shape the letters and books that go along with different activities. And so they are really filled full of different activities. So I'm in the process of making 200 of these and 200 binders to get for all of our kindergartners by next Wednesday. So that has been a lot of my focus, but we've had some volunteers from the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that they get all their work done. They get to come down to the stage and help pack backpacks for their incoming kids. So we're trying to get the big kids involved and welcoming the little kids. Do you have any questions?
I think that's awesome. I think the city of St. Helens or the recreation would probably put all of our activities from like Little League and all those contacts, because that's the one thing we see posted, right? Is who do I contact for this? And they're all entering. So maybe just a 101 for our community. And I think they probably put it together for you. But maybe something I needed when I was starting with kids.
Yeah, I have a meeting with some other people from the community later on Monday, I think. So
yeah, that's really good.
One more for the older kids.
I think you heard enough for me. Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to say that.
Yes, but I did.
Okay.
I
You'll defer to your colleagues.
my crew over here spent time.
So all right, if we present together.
We are a team.
You're a crew.
We're a crew.
Thanks.
Almost. You will be.
So we're gonna go back and forth here. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves. So good evening, board. Superintendent Scott, Roger Fink, principal at Ryder Elementary.
Martine Barnett, principal of Police and Fire.
We have quite a few similarities to share. So if we go back forth here a bit, just know that we've partnered together as 3 elementary leaders to make sure that we're supporting our staff and support our students, and of course, the St. Helens community. Number one, speaking of inviting and welcoming, I'm happy to announce that April 1st recently, it felt a bit awkward to welcome parents in the spring into the building, but it was really important to do that, and I wanted to share that. Right, it was fantastic to have a welcome into the building, meet and greet with parents, listen to hopes and wishes, and just enjoy parents in the building. So that was a benefit. I'm happy to share that success.
We wanted to give a thank you to the Kiwanis Club that came and brought a book for every kindergarten student. And it was really fun to, and something that happened in the past, to bring that back and have that in the building. Our kindergartners lined up with their little ducktails behind their back to walk and peruse the books in the library, and then one walk through to check them out, and then the next one to make their selection. And it was really awesome to watch their faces when Bill Eagle said, "This is a book you get to keep and take home." Like, they lit up. It was really, really amazing. And likewise, great to have community in the building again.
Okay, speaking of community, let's continue that. We're just excited to continue to welcome our community into whether it's PTO and parent involvement, It's volunteers who are just putting in applications left and right. That's lovely to see. Teachers are excited. Students are excited to see their own maybe grandparent or parent in the school supporting, whether at recess or lunch or both. We'll take it. Okay. I have to compliment the parents last night at the music program that we were gracious that St. Paul's Middle School allowed us to host there. And then speaker Eric Stearns, who just left, he's partnered with our music teacher, McBride. We had a fantastic program last night. We didn't have one tonight because we want to respect this board meeting, but we will have part 2 tomorrow night. Again, that's bringing in our St. Helens community, using our resources within the school district, and just allowing an opportunity for parents to see their kids perform. And just the number of smiles last night was worth all. It wasn't a headache, but the hassle of getting it together and the mic that didn't work, it made it fantastic to see the smiles on students. And so it was.
Listen Park has a music program in the works, and we just got it on the calendar, so we'll send that information out. First week of June, 1st through 5th graders, they are practicing a musical play that they will be performing. So it's coming along really well. They're so excited. It's fantastic. And tied in with that, we're really excited. Our St. Helens High School drama is working on Aladdin as their play, and it is the script and music were written by St. Helens High School graduates and years ago, and it's one that River City Children's Theater has done in the past. So they are working on that production, and then in lieu of not having a stage available at the high school right now, they are going to bring it to us at the elementary schools and perform in each of our buildings.
Here's a celebration for students. We've talked about COVID and some of the pauses and the days off that we've had this year. But good news, like looking at our attendance rate just this last month of March, at 91% attendance. And so our rates are incredible. Students are happy to be there. They're excited to be learning, seeing their friends. It's just a beautiful time, and we are just excited to move forward in school and learning. And I know, like looking at the calendar, we've got after this week, we've got down to 7 weeks left. But each of those days is important, and I appreciate the parent support that we have for our students and their focus on learning. So again, for the win.
And they're going to be a busy, packed few weeks that we have left. We're headed into state testing and have a few community events coming up as well.
Well, no, that's just it. There's all kinds of events coming up. We're inviting the parents in once again. 3 elementaries. We've got an open for
muffins in the morning. There we go.
Yeah. And it's just that. We're going to have donuts, cookies, muffins, and invite parents, family members, grandparents, aunts, uncles in to meet with the principals and some of the teachers, and then go visit their students, their own children in classrooms. And so again, just another opportunity to invite families into our schools and show them the great work that we're doing. And again, it's going to be about students. They're going to be able to show their parents, hey, this is what I'm doing. Here's where I sit. This is what I'm learning. Once again, for the way.
Are you guys doing that the same day at the same time?
We are okay. We same week, different days for each building. At the same time. So yeah, that information is what we 3rd week of May.
May 26th
Is
is
your
your
day,
city,
okay.
so you guys are somewhere around that.
Yes.
McBride, Wednesday, the 25th
Okay, so we're Tuesday.
of May.
May.
It was a great time to
You missed it.
Yeah.
And maybe if you get
Didn't
very
have myself.
organized, you could get me and then to buy donuts to give you.
There you go. Bring your own donuts.
We'll just get community members to donate it because we don't need them all anyway. So.
Sounds like Eric needs
I was just gonna
to
say.
sell some donuts.
Staff appreciation. We're excited that our staff have worked, I would say, extra hard this year. In fact, and that needs to be said because I think almost every given day we've been down staff. And our staff that we do have, our teachers and support staff have really stepped up to support students, to partner with parents, to make sure that our our students, our little guys are doing the best they can, and they have the education and services provided to them. That has been a challenge. And so next week is really important that we recognize and appreciate the hard work that our teachers are doing, the love and care that they're given every day. And not just when the kids leave, but they're staying late and get things ready for the next day. And so we want to make sure that we honor that next week and we show staff that we appreciate that.
Yeah, including all staff and that appreciation focused on classified, and today was Administrative Professionals Day, so congratulations. We appreciate you, all your hard work. And so lots of recognition going on, lots of celebration, and we have balloons that are just moving from office to office in our building to whoever we're celebrating for the day. And yeah, looking forward to celebrating the whole staff.
I think that's a wrap for us. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kids about chemist flowers so they can appreciate them. And biology classes need to be teaching kids about the.
I'm Chris Williams, principal, St. Helens, and this is the Riverhawk Report. So one of the first successes for this spring that I'd like to celebrate is the start of swimming for the first time at the middle school. We currently have 20 swim participants, and I had one parent report to me that this is like therapy for my child. They come home exhausted, they want to eat, and they want to go to bed, and they treat everybody nicely. So that was pretty cool. Yes. And then track, we have 67 participants this year. We had our first home meet. Our home meets take place at the high school. And this is the first time most of these students have ever participated in a track meet or a track related event. Thank goodness for our St. Helens High School track coaches, Naomi Reed and Neil Ford, and all of those track athletes. They ran this meet and they coached our kids on what a meet should look like and how it functions. And so that was a big learning experience for these students this year. We have our upcoming away meets tomorrow. So hopefully you can get some footage, check out the athletic.net and see how the track athletes finish. We will be posting that information. Next big success is a club that we have called Builders Club. This is really a community building club. It's not a construction crew or anything like that. They ran a competition for a canned food drive. We got together 700 cans were collected in our focus classes, and the winning focus class a donut party. That was pretty successful, as well as they're running a campaign right now called a kindness campaign or random acts of kindness. When students recognize one of those moments, they put that other student's name on a little ticket in a raffle box, and then weekly we're pulling out prizes for students who have done kindness. They've also been able to raise money and through donations for a local animal shelter. So it's something that they're pretty active with, and it's a club that's had quite a bit of success so far. What are we working on? Well, we're preparing for the 8th grade celebration and promotion party. So our students and staff discussed what would be the format for the upcoming promotion, and the students really love all of the feedback they have from their older sisters and everybody who's participated in this drive-through celebration, and they would like to continue that. So we're going to continue with the drive-through celebration for the 8th grade group, and that's going to take place on June 16th, the last day of school, at 5:30 p.m. And then following that, our leadership group at the high school is going to be hosting the 8th grade promotion party. All 8th graders are invited, and it's a great way to introduce them to high school. They are so excited to see a real DJ. That's what they keep telling me. They're excited to go to a dance with a DJ. Okay, so no pressure, and the leadership crew is going to provide that for them. And that is our Riverhawk report.
Excellent. Thank you, Scary.
So good evening, Katie Becker, principal at St. Helens High School. And since Jezreel Ortiz, our ASB PR rep, is not here, I'll give you a little bit of ASB report as well. So I'll start with that. So just in the last couple of weeks, we had our Mork dance, which is prom backwards. So we had our Mork dance and assembly, and the assembly is also celebrating all of our spring sports. So it's our big spring sports kickoff. We had that out at the stadium. Our Mork court raised $3,100 for the Autism Society of Oregon. And some of that was fundraised with a bucket run up to the stands and had students put in some money into the bucket. So we collected money as a whole school to support the Autism Society of Oregon. It also culminated with a couple of tricycle races that we borrowed from the childcare program. I'm sure my own 3-year-old rode on the same tricycle that I did at some point. So all of our spring sports team captains raced down the track in those stripes, and then we also have a couple of staff, which I will say, having short legs helped me win that race. A little bit better than the taller coaches. We also have prom coming up on May 7th. We did shift that date so that it wouldn't conflict with some of our other activities that were going on. We wanted to make sure that all students had an opportunity to participate. So we did shift that date. We also want to celebrate our leadership crew. They just received from the Oregon Association of Student Councils a Gold Council Award at their conference in Seaside. So that is reserved only for schools that have met the requirements for gold status, providing outstanding leadership and in student engagement. This is the 3rd year in a row that our high school has been honored with this award. So pretty exciting. They have also been working on our staff appreciation for this week. So we started off with some thank you notes for all of our staff and some chocolates, and then we had review quotes. Today, we had a Mediterranean lunch that was hosted by our line catering crew from our culinary arts program. We also have snack carts going around. We're offering massages on Friday. So really making sure we've got some treats for all of our staff throughout the entire week. So they've been doing a great job on that. We also have our band and choir, both are now ranked in the top 10 and 12 in the state. And so both of them will be competing at the state competition, choir May 6th and the band May 13th. And then I did want to recognize Lion Catering. We've heard a lot about them tonight and how they've been communicating and participating with our larger community, and both in different schools and different community events. They also hosted or catered the Family Resource Center opening and had treats right over here. They've been doing weekly bento boxes for staff that want to participate in that. So every Thursday, lunch gets delivered to you if you participate. And then they did the Mediterranean lunch for staff appreciation. And then they also hosted the hospitality room in our lower Columbia track and field meet. So all of the coaches from all of the other schools that came to that meet got a chance to partake in their hospitality. So last meeting, I talked a little bit about our new maxims, and one of those is around dedication and our commitment to our community. So that program definitely is committed to our community and bringing everyone together through food. And it really is incredible to see the work that our students do. They set the menu, they identify who the sous chefs are, they prepare all of the food. It's pretty incredible. So along those same lines with the maxims, one of them, so they were courageous, dedicated, and prepared. One of the things that I want to celebrate is some of our interventions that we are providing with students. So we want to make sure that we're building confidence and integrity. And so this last Saturday, we offered intersessions for students who needed some additional support as they move into the final 7 weeks of school. We had about 30 students attend. They could either sign up ahead of time to give us a little heads up, or they could just drop in. And we got some fantastic feedback from the students that came. One student's parent reached out to us after the fact and said, thank you for helping my student build her confidence. She feels like she can finish this year out strong. So we were really encouraging more students to participate on May 21st, and we'll have another one on June 4th as well. So have some more opportunities built in for students. We also are planning to do an early release Wednesday senior clearance day. So on June 1st, just kind of that last push before graduation, that any seniors that need some additional assistance, kind of getting over that last hump, will then just stay during the early release to get that additional support. So kind of an intercessions, but just for seniors built into the end of that school day, making sure they're getting all those graduation requirements or any incompletes finished up. We also are excited that we're really digging into that resiliency and being prepared. We have 181 seniors right now. 94% are on track to graduate just on time with no additional support needed. So those 10 students that are a little bit further behind need a little bit extra assistance to get caught up. But we're really confident that they can pull it out either this year or into summer school and cross that finish line. So we're pretty excited about that, and especially after coming out of 2 years of distance learning or COVID at the high school level. That's half of their high school career has been interrupted in that way. So to have that many seniors be that resilient is really exciting. And then the last piece that we're working on, I'm also very grateful that we've been back in person, because that means we've been able to follow up with all of our students and get everyone forecasted for next year. So we can build a master schedule and be prepared that is going to support all of our students and be really thoughtful and planful. Have all of our teachers know what they're teaching at the end of the school year before they break for the summer. Have a clear plan for summer school, what students need, and then be able to start the year really strong. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be working on building that schedule, and then we'll be able to push that out to families over the summer once all of that gets kind of balanced. So more work to be done. These last 7 weeks are always a crazy push, especially at the high school. But we're all pulling together, and I'm super proud of our staff and very grateful for all the work that they do.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Right. 5.6 superintendent report.
Yeah, I have a few items here. The first one, I'm very honored to make the Licensed Employee Appreciation Week declaration. As we, it goes without saying, the last few years have been difficult. This year, we're excited to be back, but the challenge has been with staffing and coverage and substitutes, and our staff has done double duty in many areas, working together to keep classes open, keep kids engaged. So I think it's just very fitting that we take a moment to honor our licensed employees this coming week. And so I will read the official whereas. Licensed Employee Appreciation Week declaration. Whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, and whereas teachers encounter students of widely different backgrounds, and whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the St. Helens School Board of Directors proclaim May 2nd through 6th, 2022 to be Licensed Employee Appreciation Week, and be it further resolved that the St. Helens Board of Directors strongly encourage all members of our community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for their dedication and devotion to their work. So again, the work that our teachers do on a daily basis is exceptional. It's challenging, it's trying, but it's some of the best work that we can do so we're excited to congratulate. All right. Graduation requirements. this is kind of a continuation of a discussion of the work session. And can you pull, there's some data that was requested. So I provided you first with the St. Helens High School graduation requirements. On the left-hand side is the current requirements, and I want you to note, the big discussion is the world language. That is for the entering class of 1920s. So that would be our current 11th graders, and that's a big part of the discussion. And then I've also on the right-hand side, we have the state requirements. So part of the discussion was, let's talk about how our students are doing in those areas. So Christy, can you go to the next document to share the data?
Can you define this data too? Is this for the same class?
This is for the entire school.
Okay. Just for that semester, so we don't know. Say like the 11th graders, which ones?
We don't have it. We don't have parsed out. We can do that.
Okay.
This is for the current, the failing grades as of 4/22 for the past semester. So if you look at the world languages, we had 88.6% passing with 11% failing. The arts, we had 91%, 9.8% passing with an 8.1% failure rate. And then the CTE programs, 90.8 or 90.9, depending on how you want to round, percent passing with a 9.1% failure rate. Smaller numbers of students at world language of 272, arts with 530, and then we have our strong CE programs of 776. So just with that snapshot, it looks like we're on track, but we can certainly break it down by grade. That's what we'd like to look at.
Yeah, like I'm even thinking those 10 students, like how many of them are being held up because of a world language? Or
For on track graduation. It would be none for these 10 because the world language doesn't.
right, because we didn't actually say
Yes.
that until then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I do have some data on these students, but I don't think we want to share it publicly because there's only 10.
Yeah.
So
And then our online that were still, it was still in the little bit of COVID, so we still had some online kids and those students that maybe failed and then came back.
yeah, these are just high school, so we can capture the online folks as well. Kids.
I'm still in the realm of wanting to delete those just because we changed and go state requirements until we can use that in this area.
I'm liking what you have here.
Yeah, this looks good. Yeah.
This
Other thoughts on graduation requirements? We talked about phasing in, talked about leaving the same, talked about moving it.
Well, so, I mean, there are some things that we've obviously shown that we don't know what student. I would suspect that some of these kids might be the same person on all three spots. Very likely that, and if you look, you could probably add language arts, mathematics, and science to that same group. So there are some students that just struggle with the whole requirement of being at school or doing those things. There are some students up there that they might be struggling with world language and passing CTE, or they might be struggling with CTE and passing world language. So I see that you have, is this a proposal? Is that what this is?
No, that's our current.
That's your current. It just says that credits may come from any of these three content areas, so you don't necessarily have to have 2 years of world language then.
That's this year's requirement. The last one I showed was what we're moving towards. This is just for this year's graduating class.
So
Next year's graduating class is when.
based on this, then I wonder if our 10 might go to 20 if we're not careful. That's my concern. This is pretty liberal. They can take as they choose, and we've got 10% of our student body that's struggling, which is not too unusual. But I am a little concerned if we go to what we projected for our next step, that we're going to potentially, leaving it the way that we've projected it for next year as a requirement, that you're going to increase your numbers of kids that are struggling. My own personal experience is, once I got behind, and I took 2 different languages, but once I got behind in one, there was no catching up because they just kept accelerating away from me. And that's so you're kind of predicating an impossibility for some students that they can start 2 years before graduation and there's no catch up particularly. But there may be other ways around that. So whether it's more offerings or whatever we do, or we say, well, it doesn't have to all be the same language. There's lots of ways around these problems. But if what we have now is as challenging as it is, I'm not sure that increasing those things is going to make the problem any better.
And that's all I'm proposing. I think that we should delay this change and move it back to our current
Move it to this.
freshmen. So we already did that. And we adopted the date for those years of the 1920 graduating, or those kiddos when they graduated, that they'd be meeting these requirements. And I think we should move it to our current freshmen and start over.
How about, let me get some additional data focused on world language at the grade level. And I think taking a look at where our current juniors are, the number of students that have passed world language.
I would challenge there too, though. I have even one of my online kids has 2 years and he knows nothing. Like he did not learn anything in his online.
During online. And that's your biggest concern is during online, requiring it, it didn't learn anything. Got to credit already.
I'm going both ways. I'm just feeling like it's both ways. They definitely were able to do it. Cheating because online is different.
It was an ideal, we would all agree.
Yes. And if we just reset it, it would be more fair across the board for what we require. Because there are definitely those that have also failed.
Well, there's always a group of very capable folks that see world through their lens. And they think that everybody should come up to their existence. And that's not necessarily what happens. So while we're going to do a little elitism, it's like the same discussion that came up about valedictorian. Why are we worrying about narrowing things down to, okay, we're going to take opportunity for 5 different kids, when their transcript will say that they were number 1, 2, 3, or 4, but they could still earn the honor of being valedictorian and make their family proud. And I'm more for creating opportunity in different pathways than I am for making an elite snobbery and saying, my gosh, we're making these kids do this, and we're really not. The kids that my grandchildren, I have no trouble with school, but my own children, one of them mightily struggled and his children mightily struggled. I see both sides. I've sat daily with the tiers for years, from kindergarten on, and done homeschool for a kid that was publicly schooled because they needed that extra help. And then guess what? I got their child and did the same thing. So it's not like I'm speaking from lack of experience, but there are struggles that these kids go through. And I just don't see putting barriers, and I don't see any need to take a kid that was maybe took regular classes and got straight A's to say that you're less of a person than the kid that's totally gifted to college classes and got straight A's. I just can't do that. I can't tell a kid that's out there playing a sport that, okay, well, this guy makes 70% of his shots, so you're not going to play. I'm there to say that, gee, that's really good. You made 70% of your shots. Now you can sit and watch this guy miss 70% of his, because that's part of the game and you're just as valuable. And over time, that pays off. It pays off immensely. So I'm sure that in our boat crew, they're allowing kids to paint that are not artists. And that's one of the challenges that the artists come up with. That, you know, it's really kind of tough if everybody gets to paint, because they don't paint to my standards, but everybody gets to paint. And I, whether it's graduation requirements or whether it's valedictorians or whether it's honors, I want to make sure that we don't dilute our standard, but we don't raise it to a point where we make it unattainable for more people. And the capable kids are going to get there no matter what you do.
I really appreciate that. I guess I'd like to, the addition of world language, you know, it can appear that it's to some degree putting an elite standard, but really the addition is to provide more opportunity for students, because when you have a certain grade point average and you have your two world language classes, you have an automatic entrance into all of our public universities. And so the attempt is to set all of our kids up for success. And it's not necessarily, we know that we've got many children, students that will graduate from our high school, and they may not go right into a 4-year school. They may go right to work, but 2, 3, 4 years down the road, they may change their minds. And having those on their transcript provides greater access and opportunity. And I know that's not what you're suggesting.
Well, actually, so can I butt in on that? So the other night, I sat down and I looked up what's the requirement for Oregon State. And what they said is, if you don't take 2 years in high school, you're going to have to take 1 year in college. In order to graduate from Oregon State, you have to have the equivalent of 1 year of college language or 2 years of high school language. But to get in, you have to apply. You have to have a certain GPA standard. And you don't necessarily have to have a foreign language. They have an alternate pathway that, okay, you can take your language here. So I know that we get told things and they say you have to have a foreign language to get into Oregon State. You don't. You just flat out don't. And by the way, if you were prior to a certain time of graduating from high school, you don't have to take it at all. So it is easy. It's better. You want to get into Oregon State and you have 2 years of foreign language and you have a certain GPA, you are in automatically. Or you might have to apply and you might have to get an SAT score, and there's some other things. So that it's not as easy, but it's at least doable. And if a kid doesn't have the foreign language, you don't have to say, well, no, I just shut him out of a 4-year university. I did.
So I understand your point. I understand your point. It's a separate point. Part of the reason that world language, in my opinion, is important is to expand your understandings of culture.
Sure.
And the struggles that you go through to learn a language that is foreign to you, that you have no concept on how to work through linguistically or reading or anything else, I think provides an experience that you do not get in just about anything else in the educational system. Do we need 2 years for the college piece? Maybe not. I think at least 1 year of exposure to that, where somebody may say, I don't want to do that, I'm never going to do that. But the educational value to that in life and being exposed to spaces that you probably wouldn't be exposed to otherwise, I think has immense value down the road. And for those that want to go straight into work, they're going to be surrounded by people that may not necessarily speak English as a first language. They're going to be surrounded by people that are struggling to learn or comprehend certain things. And it will create a connection between, I went through that and that was really hard. And it might just help them work through their working experience down the road. But if we just flat out say, take it or don't take it, I think there's going to be a significant number of students that say, I got no interest. And that's fine. I understand that they don't have an interest. But I think that for what we are doing in education, what the purpose of what this entire system is for, is to put them into spaces where they've got to learn things that they don't like. We have math requirements. I know a lot of students that will never once in their life use any of the math that they learn in that system, but we require it. But I can guarantee you that at some point, every single student that we have is going to run across somebody in their life that speaks another language, and they're going to have to figure out what their experience was, how to relate to that person, and you cannot get that anywhere else.
I agree as well, but we have one foreign language teacher right now, and we can't hire very often right now. So we have two now.
Same language, right?
One language.
Okay.
Which I did say.
So we have one online and one in person?
We do have apparently 272 kids in language where it's still optional. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, some of those kids may be anticipating that it's going to be required.
So,
Yeah, it's been in the course guide for a while.
Yeah,
so
okay.
yeah, students are taking that in preparation because they know this is coming
Yeah.
down.
I mean, like I say, I have kids gifted in both directions. They have different gifts. And sometimes I think that, you know, it's nice to say, oh, you should struggle with the foreign language, but if English is your language you struggle in, pretty hard doing one that you can't quite discern what's going on. And it's crazy because, like Mr. Stockwell is usually, I think that same child that struggled in English might have done fine in Japanese. Because my own child, I fought having him in chemistry. In fact, I disenrolled him when I saw he was enrolled. And he went back and re-enrolled himself when he found out I had done such a thing. And he got A's and B's. Vocabulary was horrible. But when it came to symbols, boy, he was really good at it. And mind you, he said it took a while for your prefrontal cortex to develop. Yeah, but I got an A in writing 121 and I got an A in calculus. In his 40s.
So I'd look at some more data because we do have those students that like started here, went to Scappoose, came back, tried online during COVID. And I just think that we really need to look at all of them to make sure, and not just the one class.
So we'll disaggregate the data. And I think probably bring some different scenarios or thoughts as far as options. I hear, you know, we have concern with two. I hear, well, it would be nice for people to at least have an experience with, and it will make them uncomfortable for 1 year. And if they want to continue, great. If not, then they have that option for delaying it. So some options for us to look at.
So, yeah, and I think, you know, at one point we were talking about getting some ASL or some other languages.
Yeah.
So if a student took a semester of language one and that's just not successful, okay, look, you tried, you didn't make it. Try language two. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that. And we have enough room that if they don't pass that, you know, they may be struggling in lots of areas. So I don't know that you're going to completely destroy a GPA if they don't make it, or typically though, the first semester, if you want to make it in a foreign language, if you show up, you're learning a lot of culture, you're learning a few basics. And if you want to make it in first semester, I guarantee you that my challenged student would have made it just fine. Because he worked really, really hard, and we would sit and drill if we needed to, but he would have made it. And those, so I'm not saying that, but then when you start getting into more about sentence structures and things like that, for whatever reason, math made sense, but it was symbols, but words, memorized virtually every word he knows in English. Had to memorize, and it was the shape of the word. That's educational value for some of you, but he says, I didn't know what the shape, he could, all the dinosaurs, because there were great big words that had a specific shape. But boy, those little short words, man, they got confused all the time.
I would say that just having the minimal opportunities for the purpose of what we're trying to get to. I think if we're going to have students expectations to do something, they should have some level of agency to pick something that piques their interest, as opposed to just saying, well, that's all we got, so we're still going to mandate you to do it. But I am very passionate that I think that at least one credit should be looked at for the exposure. The whole time, it's been really great, frankly.
Yeah. It's yours.
Somebody's shaking.
That one.
It's, now it's been long.
No, it's still that.
When the
That
little
one.
kids started, I was just like,
I was wondering.
Thought the whole building was gonna fall down.
so is
Check it out.
I thought she was
Apex
having-
state level or our high school level? Okay, so they, because I was wondering that too on the opposite side, they're not really capable of taking a CCD class, so if they can take one or the other, that's good.
We'll bring back some more data, bring back some options, use some scenarios. What it might look like for students.
Whatever you decide, I'll support it 100%. That's okay.
I appreciate that, but we also want to have with this.
So can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
So Spanish and French were around when I was in school here. And the biggest thing, and you still are dealing with it in the grandparent age bracket all the way to your parents is, it used to be that everybody went to work at Boise, so what the heck did you need those other languages for anyway, right? So most parents didn't even care. But I think a lot more people know that to at least be able to, in this area, speak Spanish is a big help in their jobs or whatever too. But one of the things I can remember, we had 7 classes every day, the same 7. So I was in Spanish every single day of the week. I still guarantee in 2 years was not enough time to even, I can sing the alphabet to this day and say hola and adios and muy bien, okay? Those are my most favorite words that were had to be said every day. And so all I was thinking was, whether we want to go back to 6th grade or even all the way back, is to figure out ways to add words into everybody's classes so that by the time that they get to the high school, they have a really strong hold on at least a lot of the basic words, even if it's only saying gracias, you know, I mean, something where they're constantly being, those words are being added in all the way along the way, so that maybe they actually can learn Spanish by the end of 2 classes, you know, or whatever. So.
Language plasticity is way better at the beginning of life than it is by the time we're expecting it.
Yes.
So if we were to incorporate it at kindergarten, you know, through, that would be far better to prepare the students.
That's called IB, and Scott, if you want to put up the money, Scott will have one of our elementaries starting that program next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very familiar with language at the elementary, the lesson programs, foreign language at the elementary schools. And it does very similar to what Fern talked about. It immerses children in the culture and the regalia of the song to get them excited about learning language. They don't learn a ton of language, they learn a little bit of language. That's what actually I believe the first 2 years of language in high school is really about getting them interested so they can continue. I don't think that many kids who do take 2 years of foreign language are super successful, but it is getting them exposed. So I think it was a great conversation and it's important, so I appreciate that.
And maybe just as much as the other way around is if you've got the kids learning words along the way, it's constantly going back and forth is to help the kids that speak Spanish to then learn English back the other way too. So I've had 2 families at my home that I honestly turned one of the families into ESD thinking that the kids needed speech therapy because they wouldn't talk, I mean, at all. And then I have them all signed up. We're going and they're learning some words from me. And then one day, grandma picks them up and she comes to the door and she talks to me in perfect English. I'm not thinking anything about it. And then she turns around and that kid is in a major discussion with grandma in Spanish all the way to the car. They had no clue what I was even saying at my house. And mom and dad never told me that they didn't know English of any kind. And so we started all over again. And now we learned English instead of just speech therapy. Okay, so, but I mean, yeah, I was like, and I had to really work hard too to be able to even say, put your seatbelt on when we go in the car, you know, so yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it was a learning experience for me too, just as much, but now the kids just being at my house for the years, I have the whole family now speaks English, even grandpa that refused to for a very long time, so. But yeah, so if we just start in the beginning and really start doing that back and forth with words, I think that'd help both ways.
That might be some twisted. I have one more item under district business, and it's really an announcement. So you've been receiving emails about job postings and whatnot from our new HR director, and he is here with us, Pete Shinsky. So Pete, welcome, and I want to make sure to introduce him to the board and our community. Pete, did you want to say anything really quickly to the board, or are you happy to just be here?
No, I'm excited to be here. Excited to be part of this great team. You know, we've already been working in schools and getting jobs posted and talking about recruiting and strategy. So I just thank you for the opportunity, and I'm very appreciative.
So we're excited you're here.
Pete is doing a lot of work right now, and I'm reflecting back and thinking, I know our principals and myself, we're doing a lot of work that Pete's now doing, which it feels a little bit selfish, I think, for all of us, but what that does is it allows us to focus less on personnel issues and more on instruction and rigor and teaching. So Pete has been a really great addition to the team. Another great addition to the team that I need to announce. This person has been with us for a while, and we placed them in a very, very challenging situation with, I think, a week to go before school started, having not served as a building leader, placed them into a school, and they have done a fantastic job. Pete and I went to Lewis and Clark Elementary School and had a really good discussion with the staff. We talked about what made a great school and what made a great staff, and then what would be a great or perfect principal to lead such a great school and a great staff. And the staff at Lewis and Clark were very gracious, and they frankly talked about Martine in circles until finally one of them, our custodian over there, says, "Scott, I don't want to move in office. She's fantastic. Why are we having this conversation?" That opened the floodgates, and I can tell you just a lot of outpouring of how much a perfect fit Martine has been. They're excited about the future, the direction that they're going. So it was really warm and reassuring. And so this is kind of the formal announcement. We'll have her official contract on upcoming consent agenda, but I wanted to share with the board that we are turning Martine from an interim to a full-fledged principal. So Joaquin, you've already said a few things. If you want to say anything else, you're welcome to, but congratulations.
Yeah, I'm just so excited. And I think the future is bright at Wilson Park, and the energy that the staff has around exploring STEAM in the future and how we can infuse that into more of what we're doing and our partnerships with community agencies like LSU and Sharp and or Parks and Rec is really exciting. I'm just excited to move things forward in there and it's the opportunity.
That concludes my report.
All right. That brings us to 6.0, visitors to address the board for agenda items. All right, hearing none, we'll go to 7.0 action items.
And I move to add 7.2, the choir approval of, or non-approval of their application.
To sing Carnegie Hall.
Someone needs to second that.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. So we'll go to 7.1 first. Declaration of License Employee Appreciation Week.
Already declared.
Second.
Oh, so see now we declare it as adoption. So I move we declare this week as. What, next week? Oh, ooh, next week as licensed employee appreciation.
Second.
All in favor? 7.2, approval of fire trip.
Second. All five. Just say everybody second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
I am gonna be there looking for them.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay, no, we're gonna.
Yeah.
You already invited me to be the chaperone.
No, we're just gonna be there. Couple days early, so we.
I'm
do
not sure that I
some-
want to actually totally only chaperone. Maybe I want to go and watch them join.
Oh, I wanna
Yeah,
go.
go and watch and say see you later.
Yeah.
They're all yours.
All right, 8.0 is up
You and
to
Kate have fun.
Yes.
meeting input. Everything up to meeting. May 11th.
Am I wrong? Does it feel like we're way late on like budget stuff?
Normally the first week of May, it's just we're not meeting the second time. I'm sure it'll longer gap.
Okay. Just one second.
Yeah, no, usually it's Cinco de Mayo, and the fourth USD day, one of them. Maybe.
All right.
Cinco de Mayo.
I
Field trip.
did want to note the
Santa
May
Clara.
18th planning date. I'd like to keep that. I'm likely have a conflict. But that is the evening that I would like to bring designer tiles, those types of items to look at. Who else?
The design team take over.
Yeah, so when he doesn't like it. we-
Yep.
You've not seen my home.
Wednesday.
There's
I have
a city. I thought I could put that. Well,
What time does that meeting start? This meeting? Your meeting, or the one that you would like to be at?
I think it's 6.
Well, then we just make us till
Or if
7.
we start at
you
7.
only have 1 hour to get yourself done.
They don't go that fast.
I think this is already public record.
We could
Oh,
do
we
on
have plenty of time to
Thursday
change this one.
with the design team because that's a late night for them anyway. They're traveling.
If you can make it earlier, I can talk to them.
You're
I can't be
right.
there.
I'm doing like
I'm in
that.
Eugene.
I'm okay with that.
Okay,
I mean, I get off at.
Now, was this going to be at the high school?
it'll be here. Oh, and one other note for your calendar, I believe Thursday, the chimney at the high school is gonna be taken down by.
I saw them put the ramp up like you're talking, and then they took it down. I was
That's
like,
tomorrow?
I'm glad they took it down. It just didn't seem safe driving
I was wondering about
backhoe
that.
up the hill and then trying to pull, so they thought better of that. Yeah.
Well, my husband does that all the time. I don't know what your problem.
I think Mark Parsons of Hoffman looked at what they're trying to do and said, no, that's not how we're gonna do it. So they're bringing a much larger tool to come in and take bite. So Thursday.
That's
Yeah,
tomorrow.
You're gonna, You're gonna miss that.
So one of the things that's kind of fun is to go to the live loop up in the corner,
Yeah,
and you can see the last hour, 10 seconds, and everybody's working really hard. But the choreography of the excavators is kind of cool when they're working fast. You have to entertain yourself with this stuff. It's free video.
you're gonna miss that chimney, aren't you?
Huh?
You're gonna miss it, aren't you?
No, I've been after getting rid of that thing forever.
All right.
I have the bricks one. I think we all need.
The one,
we
what
should
is it,
all
Buckman
ship mine.
Elementary
It
though?
would be so
That would be
fun.
a shame if it got taken down. The one that
It's
has
a
all the
choir
swamp,
fundraiser
thousands of
right
swallows
there.
every year.
I still
I mean, I like that.
You'd like that.
Bride, and she didn't have
You could-
one.
Jared would love it completely. He could maintain that on a regular basis.
So we have.
We could all etch our names. Make a patio.
Oh,
Take the
the
top
chimney
back.
scares me, actually. If there was an earthquake, I just don't
Yeah,
want to be
we
next to
usually have meeting every.
it. Now we're moving the office closer, so.
Oh, we go.
Katie said we're
All right.
taking it down.
Move to adjourn?
All right.
Okay, you can go.
Adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight.